Hello and welcome back to the Elite Formula Physio and Training podcast. And we're back into race week. And Matt, I haven't missed much of the F1 season, not being there this year, but Miami is definitely one I'm a little bit jealous of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a fun race. Like you say, it's classic US, right? Putting on a show, and
Yeah, I like Miami as a place as well. I'm lucky I've got a few friends there, so it does mean a little bit more for me. But it's just a cool place. It's got everything. City, beach. There's a real good kind of health and fitness side to it as well. You've got some really great gyms and lots of sport. Every sport you can think of is there as well. Basketball, NFL, and of course F1 now. And it's always brought a bit of a fun race as well, or a bit of a fun weekend. I mean, we qualified P11 last year, and for me, I think it was the biggest race of our season. I definitely put it as my number one moment of the 2023 season, because going into Miami as the fifth race of the year last year, we were two wins each, Max and Checo. Checo qualified P1, we qualified P11. We won in Miami, coming from P11, and that was the start of our 10-run win streak.
yeah, absolutely huge. Yeah, I was going to say it, and it's interesting because I think I remember we spoke on a pod before, and it was about people were asking kind of what your highlights were of the year, and I think it's very quick sometimes for people to go to perhaps the penultimate end goal. So like we've done it, for example, I always think back again to last season with the PBM, for example, the Ducati boys at British Superbike.
Yeah, yeah, it is. When you think of the makeup of champions and what goes into winning world championships, Olympic golds, etc., etc. It's about applying yourself to that process. The winning race where you stand up and you pick up the drivers' championship is the sum of what you've done over 24 races. And yeah, I mean, you look back at, I can't remember what number three was, but the top two moments of my season last year weren't weren't like they were in the season. So it was winning Miami, fifth race of the year, because that was the start of our big winning streak, and it was a message almost. It would be neck and neck, and it was, hang on a minute, I'm here I go. And then the qualifying lap in Monaco was the second one for me, just because it was mega. And again, in that big moment in the middle of the season, huge defining factor. So yeah, the sum of all the little pieces that happen over the course of the year that accumulate into that winning piece. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get some fun again this weekend, because it's a sprint weekend as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So back to the sprint format, slightly
We
revised
haven't had
sprint
that in
format.
Miami.
No, I was going to say it's the
First
first time
time
they've
in
done
Miami.
that sprint
Yeah,
race.
yeah. It's an interesting one, because it does make a lot of sense. It flows better and it works, but it must be hard to race and then come back and do quali. There's a decent mindset shift there, because you go from building your way through a weekend. You build, and it accumulates in that ultimate point of the race. Whereas here, you build to a race and you have to come back and shift into quali mode and then build up to the race again. So you're shifting through two different mindsets on the weekend. So I think that would certainly be interesting. And a look at kind of the results and what certain drivers did across sprint weekends this year will be a really interesting kind of psychometric sort of measure, I think, as to how that might have influenced something. Maybe there's nothing in it. Maybe these guys will just switch in, switch out. But racing where it's not all out, it's not. You can, make a mistake. You can take your time. You can pick someone off. It's strategy, etc., etc. Whereas quality, literally sticking it all on the line in one high performance moment. Yeah, it'll be interesting to look at the results and the data after a couple of these sprint weekends.
Yeah, and as you say, I mean, definitely a conversation between us and the drivers, and also drivers and the team. Because as you say, the other thing is just the logistical element of going, well, how fired up do you get? And again, happen to put the car in the wall and it's to get a track like Miami or have a crash, is that could be you out of qualifying later that afternoon, in which case you've ruined your main race. So it's certainly it's a tricky one to manage. Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, talk to us about the Miami circuit then, Matt. What are we looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, so it's a lovely track. I like Miami. It's a fast track. It's obviously pretty special in the way that it's built. I was reading actually. I think it was simulated 33 different formats before they committed to building the design that they actually built. But it's obviously built around the stadium, so it's quite unique in that sense. And it's I think if you walk around the perimeter of the stadium, you can pretty much see the whole track. So you can kind of it's pretty unique in that sense.
Yeah,
In terms of the it's a 5.4 to track. It's got three straights, three DRS. So I would expect those cars to be kind of topping out over 340 kilometers an hour. I guess the unique thing about Miami is the elevation changes. So a lot of people often commonly mistake it to be a flat circuit, but there are quite a few elevation changes. One between turn 13 and 16, with the track heading over the exit ramp. And then various flyovers as well, 14,
yeah.
15
It always looks
chicane
funny to see that.
watch. Yeah, absolutely. But it's you've got quite a technical.
Yeah, absolutely. And just commenting on that nice little kind of sequence through 4 to 8. It's a physical track in that nature as well, because actually it was close to like 6G going through that section, like 4.5 up to 6G, which that's one of the sort of highest G-force strain on the neck that drives experience all year, is from 6G there. So physically demanding, fast, requires a lot of concentration, and yeah, you're right. It's the weather plays a huge part, and the temperatures of that first year we went there, that was nuts. Like, Max talked about that being the hardest race he's ever done. And it caught us out because we didn't realise the humidity there. Um, it's slightly cooler this year. It's around sort of 28, 29 degrees. But checking the humidity is right up there again. It's going to be like 75% humidity, which, for the drivers, what it means is you can't cool as much from sweat. So that means core temperature can increase a little bit easier, and even 1 degree Celsius can cause the heart rate to shoot up by 25 beats per minute, which if your heart rate's going faster, you're going to fatigue quicker, decision making becomes an issue, and obviously you're losing body mass as well with sweat coming out. And we lost almost 5% of, we lost over 5% of body mass in that first year, which, again, you look at what that can equate to from a cognitive point of view, that could be 30% down on work capacity, which, again, is pretty crazy when you're thinking that these guys are making high speed decisions over, or high stakes decisions over 300 kph.
Guys have got plenty of fluids on board, but also thinking about set.
Yeah, that's super, super important. One, making sure there's plenty of preloading of hydration, getting electrolytes in. You know, most people would have probably flown out around Monday, Tuesday to Miami, so I would have started that Sunday, Monday, so that they're preloading electrolytes all through the week, all through the flight, on landing, and then just building that up through the week into race weekend, and then yeah, pre-cooling in the ice baths before sessions, using ice vests, using ice bits around the neck or cold towels. There's some like gels you can get on the tops as well to have in your suit, which can be good. And even if it just brings the temperature down a little bit, it just delays that increase in temperature by 10, 15, 20 minutes, which could give you that bit extra come the end of the race, come the end of the qualifying session. So really important. And the other important thing is to make sure all this happens in a stoppage. So if there is a red flag or anything like that, straight there with the cold towels with ice. bring that temperature right down so you're good to go again.
Prep for a red,
Yeah,
having your wits about you and making sure you're ready really for every possibility, especially at Miami, where it isn't that difficult to put it into the wall and flag.
yeah, and and knowing where all those bits are as well at all times, because those dry ice boxes might get moved around the garage a little bit, and then if you're kind of rushing around trying to think of red flag, you're trying to get to the driver, oh no, the ice, and the car could be miles away. Like you could have a
Yeah.
good couple of minute run to where the car is, or it could be right outside your garage. You really, really don't know. So that can be a bit of a nightmare as well. I've been a couple of occasions where I've had to leg it and I'm just like dripping with sweat, like completely covered. And then, may have had to pop back for something and it's a decent, 200 meter sprint. I think in Saudi, it was the worst one. I think I legged it up there, fully expecting Max to come back to the garage, but he stayed by the car. And it was a good 200, 250 meters or something. And I had to run back and forth a couple of times, like 90% humidity or something stupid.
We had something similar in it would have been Saudi actually in Jeddah. So Paddock is the other side of the racetrack, and if you remember the length of that long straight, I remember we had a stop session in Saudi, and the team ran out of the team had gone into the driver's stand.
Yeah. I've done that a couple of times. It's nice to kind of be able to help the team out in that way as well, because obviously the mechanics have to stay in the pit lane with the car. They can't leave the car, and then often the only one left with the grid access is you. So if your driver's okay, you can run off and grab a bit of water for the boys and snacks and stuff. And yeah, I'd to and fro if it was a long red flag a little bit. But yeah, it's good.
Offer plenty of
Yeah, first
challenging,
time.
just easy.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a harder one to do. I think coming back probably a bit more so. Getting out there, if you get the kind of first couple of days right, you can get quite quickly onto that time. Um, Sleeping on the plane is the main thing and probably the most difficult thing, because you often fly through the day, so you often need to be kind of trying to get to sleep around 2 p.m. or that sort of time, and then so that you can land and stay up when you get there. That's the key. And if you don't end up sleeping on the flight, and then you have to force yourself to stay up, and then you'll be waking up at 3 a.m. Because you didn't sleep early enough in the day on the flight to kind of help shift that rhythm. So yeah, that's a tricky thing. Getting the first couple of days right, making sure you sleep on the flight, and then stay up when you get there. I don't think that's the main reason. Actually, I think the main reason is it's Miami and everyone wants to be in Miami. I don't think jet lag. Yeah, we'll get there early for jet lag. Why don't you do that for China? Pretty sure it's I'm pretty sure it's let's get out to Miami and have a bit of nice weather and a bit of good food and a bit of fun before everything gets cracking. But no, look forward to the weekend. I'm sure it's going to be a good one. We'll be back next week to review and look ahead to the rest of the season. And we're going to start our new kind of injury training series, and we're going to use you as the topic, Matt, seeing as you've got an Ironman triathlon coming up, and obviously we're involved in the kind of T100 triathlon with some athletes as well. So that's going to be good fun. So if anyone's interested in triathlon or knows someone that is, do pass this on. And yeah, we'll see you all next week. Thank you as always for listening.